One day before my wedding, my half-sister secretly put on my wedding dress. She even tried to persuade my fiancé to elope with her. I immediately sent her pregnancy test results to both sides of the family group chats and tagged her mother, asking what she thought about the fact that both she and her daughter like stealing their older sister's man. In my fiancé's family group chat, I publicly announced that the bride for tomorrow's wedding would be changed and asked everyone to stay tuned for the update. When I heard voices coming from my room and realized who it was, I took out my phone and started recording. Ethan, do I look pretty in this? Am I prettier than my sister? Tomorrow is supposed to be your wedding with her. Please don't marry her. Okay. I really love you, Ethan. Let's run away together, please. Whatever my sister has, I have even more. And besides, I'm pregnant. Please don't abandon me. You won't marry her tomorrow, right? I was so angry that my face turned red, especially when she mentioned being pregnant. I kicked the door open and saw my half-sister talking on the phone, trying to convince my fiancé to run away with her. She was even wearing the wedding dress I was supposed to wear tomorrow. Ethan, stop talking. My sister's here, she said. When she saw me enter, she smirked in defiance and slowly hung up the phone. Emily, do you have no shame at all? I'm marrying Ethan tomorrow, and today you're asking him to elope with you. Are there no other men left in this world that you have to cling to, Ethan? Or do you just enjoy humiliating yourself? I shouted. Then I slapped her hard across the face, grabbed the dress she was wearing and yanked it. Take it off. Who do you think you are to wear my wedding dress? You hit me. Who even wants your stupid dress? Ethan will buy me a better one. Just wait and see, she yelled, glaring at me while covering her cheek before storming into the dressing room. A moment later, she threw the wedding dress she had taken off right at me and then tossed a piece of paper my way. It was a pregnancy test report. She rubbed her belly proudly and looked at me with arrogance. I'm pregnant with Ethan's baby. Tomorrow he'll definitely run away with me. You're the one who will be left behind, she said before walking away. I immediately took a picture of her pregnancy test report and sent it to both sides of the family group chats. In my own family chat, I tagged her mother again and wrote, You and your daughter both love stealing your sister's husband. Any thoughts? In Ethan's family group chat, he thought I didn't know he had secretly added Emily. I tagged her directly and wrote, The bride for tomorrow's wedding will be changed. Consider this an early announcement. Then I sent both the pregnancy test report and the audio recording to the group. Ignoring the uproar in the chats, I took the wedding dress she had worn and happily cut it into pieces with a pair of scissors. After all, I wouldn't be needing it anymore. When I finished, I felt lighter, almost relieved. I called my best friend and asked her to go shopping with me. I heard that the famous senior Ethan from our university is getting married tomorrow, she said excitedly. A lot of our classmates were invited. I wonder who the lucky girl is. They say she's from our school too. Who do you think it is? While browsing through clothes, I casually replied, Me. Huh. You? What? You're joking, right? Megan? My friend Claire looked at me in disbelief. How come I didn't know you even had a boyfriend, let alone that you're getting married? Are we even friends anymore? I sighed and gently pulled her hand because the wedding tomorrow won't be happening anymore. So there's no need to invite you. Then I told her everything about my relationship with Ethan, my flirtatious half-sister's schemes, and what I planned to do next. Claire's expression turned from shock to outrage. That Emily is unbelievable. At the very least, you should have told me earlier. I could have given her a good verbal lashing. You remember how sharp my tongue was back in the day, right? What a waste. What a waste of what? I asked. Don't worry, Claire. Everything you wanted to yell at her about will get said soon enough. Just wait. My phone started vibrating again in my bag. Actually, it had been buzzing for a while, but I'd been ignoring it. When I finally picked up, my father's angry voice came through. Megan, what's with your attitude? What did you just send in the group chat? Get home right now. Before he could start yelling further, I hung up on him. Claire leaned closer. What's going on? Your dad's calling you. Yeah, I said with a small sigh. Guess I'll go home and watch the show for a bit. I'll tell you everything later. When I got home, they were all there waiting for me in the living room. Emily and her mother were both crying pitifully in one corner. I walked in, tossed my shopping bags onto the sofa, and sat down casually, crossing my legs as I watched their performance. Didn't you all call me back? So what's this about? My father, sitting across from me, pointed at me with a trembling hand. I frowned and shifted to the side a little, waiting. Megan, you need to go clear things up in the group chat right now, he said, his tone sharp with anger. How do you expect your sister to live after this? Do you really have to embarrass your own father this way? Clear what up? I asked calmly. Did I say a single thing that wasn't true? Besides, shouldn't the one embarrassed be Emily, not me? Emily sniffled and looked at me with red eyes, pretending to be hurt. Sis, how could you do this? Do you really hate me that much? You'd rather humiliate Dad just to get revenge on me for taking Ethan away? But Ethan and I truly love each other. Can't you let us be together? Her tear-streaked face looked so pitiful now, even though earlier she had been proudly flaunting herself in my wedding dress. Emily's mother stepped forward, leading her closer to me. Her face wore a cautious smile, but her eyes betrayed arrogance and challenge. Megan, look at Emily. She's pregnant already. Please let Ethan go. She's your sister after all. I looked at her silently for a few seconds before speaking. I've always wondered, should I be calling you aunt or something else? Because as far as I know, my mom only had one daughter. I don't have any sisters unless I tilted my head slightly. She gave birth to another daughter for me from her grave. If that's the case, then Dad, does that mean your head's been a little green lately? Her face darkened immediately, fury flashing in her eyes. My father looked ready to explode too. Every time he lost any argument with me, he still insisted on starting one. Talking to Emily was useless. I didn't need to say more. We'll see what happens tomorrow, I said, then turned and went back to my room. Not long after, my phone buzzed again. It was Ethan. Megan, don't misunderstand. I only think of Emily as a younger sister. I treated her kindly because of you and she kept clinging to me. The baby, it was an accident. The one I love has always been you. Please don't let this ruin our wedding tomorrow. We'll still get married as planned, right, Megan? From beginning to end, the man at the center of all this had been pretending not to know anything. Even now, he didn't have the guts to call, just a text message. If it weren't for the things I sent in their family chat, he probably would have kept pretending all the way until the ceremony. Of course, I love only you, I typed back casually. I don't believe a single word Emily said. That's good. That's really good, he replied, relieved. I smirked, took a screenshot of his messages, and sent them directly to Emily. Hearing the sound of a door slamming next door, I couldn't help but chuckle quietly. I was looking forward to tomorrow's show. The next day, the wedding hall was filled with chatter. It was already past the scheduled start time, yet the ceremony hadn't begun. The bride and groom were nowhere to be seen, and a murmur of confusion spread through the guests. I stood quietly backstage, watching relatives whisper among themselves, some looking disgusted, others amused, glancing toward both families. The parents from both sides didn't seem to know whether to smile or be furious. Each of them wore awkward, strained expressions. I twirled a small USB drive between my fingers and smiled faintly, ready for the curtain to rise on the drama. Her perfectly made-up face was full of smug delight. Sorry, sis, Emily said sweetly, but I can't live without Ethan. He's not coming to the wedding today. Attached to her message was a picture of her clinging lovingly to him, both smiling as if they hadn't just destroyed my life. I smiled faintly and walked toward the stage. Everyone, may I have your attention, please? I said calmly. It's nothing serious, really. It's just that the groom ran away. The entire hall erupted in gasps. Considering the social status of both families, there were plenty of reporters present, and the flashing of cameras instantly filled the room. Some guests looked at me with pity. Others whispered behind their hands, hungry for gossip. My father shot up from his seat, face dark and trembling with anger. What is this supposed to mean? Where's Ethan? Oh, I said lightly. I guess you didn't know, huh? But she probably does. I turned to Emily's mother, my tone sharp and cutting. Your daughter stole my groom. Does Mr. Tate, Ethan's father, know about this? No. That's fine. Everyone can just look at the big screen. They'll understand soon enough. As I finished speaking, the large screen lit up, showing photos, videos, and recordings. Every moment of Ethan and Emily's affair. Every kiss, every whisper. The room fell into stunned silence, interrupted only by shocked murmurs. Maybe even they didn't realize how much they'd done, I said coldly. So today, I'm not the pitiful one. They are. Stop it. Turn it off. Stop playing that, Megan, my father shouted. I told you to stop. Can't you hear me? Emily's younger brother suddenly burst into the room, shouting angrily. You're the one who ruined everything. Because of you, my sister and Ethan can't be together. You made them run away, and now everyone's laughing at us. Oh, look who's back, I said with a smirk. Emily's wonderful little brother. Instead of backing away, I took a step closer. What's the plan, huh? You going to hit me again? I spread my arms wide. Go on, hit me. There are plenty of people watching and recording. Let's see if you end up in jail, Lucas. Lucas, my father's precious son, the boy he had after years of trying, was in high school now, spoiled since birth. He had a bad temper. He wouldn't dare touch his real sister. But with me, he never held back. Every time he didn't like something, he'd lash out. That was only at first, though. Later, even when I couldn't fight back, I fought anyway. Bloody nose, bruises, whatever it took. Eventually, I trained in Taekwondo and Judo. Now I could easily pin him down and beat him senseless. If anyone started a fight, they'd better be ready to lose. Even my father, who loved his son more than anything, didn't dare interfere. After all, the last time he tried, I ended up hitting him too. Lucas was eventually sent to a boarding school, but I never forgot the day that made me hate him. When we were kids, he once wanted to play with my kitten, Snowy. He squeezed her too hard and she scratched him just a tiny mark. But my father lost control and beat Snowy to death right in front of me, ignoring my desperate screams and pleas. Now back in the present, Lucas raised his hand, ready to hit me again. But a large hand caught his wrist midair. Jail for this guy. A man's deep voice said with casual amusement. He looks mentally unstable. With that attitude, maybe you should be sent to a psych ward instead. Want me to help you arrange it? Lucas glared at the newcomer. Who the hell are you? The man smiled faintly. Kid, you don't know who I am. Megan, why don't you tell him? I gave a small dry laugh. You're an idiot. Then I grabbed his collar and pulled him toward the exit without another glance at anyone else. Once outside the hotel, I let him go and headed to the parking lot, ready to grab my luggage and drive home. But before I could start the car, he slid into the passenger seat beside me. So, he said quietly, the reason you didn't go abroad with me back then? Was it because of that guy? I gave him a sharp look. Do I really look like the kind of woman who'd throw away her life for a man? His name was Ryan Brooks, my childhood friend, the boy who used to live right behind my house. When I was 15, he moved overseas. He was a renowned photographer and film director. I had thought I'd never see him again. When my mother died, the house became a hellhole filled with monsters and human skin. I withdrew into myself, barely speaking. Ryan's family lived just behind ours, and I often sneaked over there to escape. Little by little, we grew close. He took me out, walked me to school, and even defended me in fights. Emily had cried countless times because of him. He never subscribed to the don't hit girls rule. The first time we met, he called me mute girl. But Ryan really was my first true friend. When I was 15 and he had to move abroad, he was afraid I'd be bullied and wanted to take me with him. He said he wouldn't come back again. I refused, telling him I still had things to do here. I didn't explain what those things were. He got angry, and after leaving the country, he never contacted me again. I watched silently as he followed me inside my house. You know, he said, I thought you'd never see me again. How could I not come to your wedding, Megan? My childhood best friend getting married. That's a big deal. He gave a crooked smile. I didn't expect the first thing you'd say after all these years would be calling me an idiot. His tone was teasing, but his eyes were sharp and searching. So, you didn't go with me back then because you wanted revenge on them, right? What kind of grudge do you have against the Tate family anyway? Don't try to fool me, Megan. I know what you did to Ethan. I sighed, my gaze softening as I looked at him. Slowly, I began to tell him everything, from the betrayal to the humiliation to everything I had done since. When I finished, he stared at me for a long time before speaking. Why didn't you come to me for help? If you just told me back then, it wouldn't have turned out like this. I smiled faintly. Even though I wanted revenge, I didn't know if I could do it or if I'd succeed. And back then we were just kids. There were too many things I couldn't even imagine, let alone do. Besides, this was my problem, not yours. I didn't want to drag you into it. Ryan's lips curved slightly. Well, I'm helping you now anyway. I've got the time. Aren't you supposed to be busy? I raised an eyebrow. Why are you suddenly so free? It's been nonstop for years, he said lightly. I figured I could take a little break. Does your assistant know you're on this so-called break? I asked, glancing at the woman on the phone nearby, crying as if the world were ending. Ryan chuckled and lifted his phone. You know why he's crying, right? Before I could answer, I saw what was on his screen. His verified account with millions of followers. He had just posted the photos and video I played during the wedding ceremony. I went silent. That was just like Ryan, reckless and unpredictable, doing whatever he wanted without a care. As for Ethan and Emily, they finally realized what I had done. After the video went viral, they went crazy trying to find me. Fortunately, they didn't know where I lived, and this neighborhood had good security. They couldn't reach me. My father kept scolding me over WeChat again and again, but I ignored him. Soon, Ethan and Emily were buried under the weight of public backlash and disgust. Even then, they had the nerve to go public, posting about their true love online as if theirs was some epic romance. They painted me as the villain. Too bad for them, though. With Ryan's massive influence, no one believed a word they said. They became like rats on the street. Everyone avoided them. Everyone mocked them. Getting married, huh? I murmured when I heard the news. Good marriage will only be the beginning of their misery. But the irony was that in the end, the person who refused to approve their marriage wasn't the Tate family. It was Emily's own mother. The funny thing was, she never wanted me to marry into the Tates either. But she didn't want her own daughter marrying into that family either. Did she know something? No way. With her limited brain power, there was no chance she knew anything important. But even Tate's father, Ethan's father, had secrets he was hiding, patching one lie after another, keeping things buried. Maybe she was hiding something from me, something she didn't want me to find out. I decided right then to have someone keep an eye on her. I wanted to know what she was hiding. That day, Ryan came to see me again. Behind him was an elderly man with half-white hair. Ryan sighed helplessly when he saw me. Megan, are you really not going to see this old man? I opened the door for them but said coldly, I don't want to see you, sir, but I respect my elders, and since you're old, I'll at least listen for a bit. The old man smiled weakly and began to speak. I already know everything between you and Emily. We're all one family, Megan. There's no need for hatred. The girl made mistakes, but you shouldn't make things so hard for her. I let out a low, humorless laugh. That's funny. Your own daughter and son were both ruined by your precious illegitimate child. Dead? I sneered. So what, Grandpa? Would you only be satisfied if Emily killed me, too? Maybe then you'd finally rest easy, since you'd have no descendants left to offer you incense at your grave. My uncle, if he could see you from the afterlife, would probably curse you a few times before reincarnating. Look at what's happened. Look carefully. Every single one of them will pay for what they've done. If heaven doesn't punish them, I will. And when that time comes, don't expect me to show you any mercy, dear grandfather. His lips trembled, his face turning pale green with rage. For a second, I thought he might collapse right there in my living room. After a long silence, he forced out a single line through clenched teeth. Your uncle's death was an accident. What does that have to do with your aunt? I gave a cold laugh. If you think it's unrelated, then fine. Go home, grandfather. I can't afford to serve a Buddha like you. My uncle was the kindest person to me after my mother. He'd never married. At that time, he had already taken over my grandfather's company and was running it with exceptional skill. Under his management, the business thrived. Profits doubled within a few years. My mother's health was poor, and she was constantly bullied and pressured by Emily's mother and my grandfather, who forced her to divorce my father so they could bring their mistress and her daughter into our home. But my uncle always stood up for her. He argued with my grandfather, even caused problems for my father's company just to protect her. He wanted to make sure they never had the time or energy to torment us again. He used to hold me in his arms, teaching me how to read and write. Megan, you're so smart, he would say, smiling warmly. You solve such a difficult problem all by yourself. Someday you'll be a great CEO. I'll hand the company to you and force your dad to hand over his too. That way, our little Megan will have plenty of money to play with. Even if you run the company into the ground, your uncle will always be there to back you up." My mother would usually stand nearby, rolling her eyes and muttering sarcastically. But soon after, my uncle died in a so-called car accident. When my mother heard the news, she was devastated. Her condition worsened rapidly. And not long after, she followed him in death. From that moment on, my life became hell. Constant torment and humiliation from them all until I grew up and finally fought back. Only then did they start fearing me, walking on eggshells around me. The doctor said I had bipolar disorder and sometimes I'd lose control, screaming or throwing things. After that, no one dared to provoke me again. But before she died, my mother kept repeating the same thing. My uncle's death wasn't an accident. Everyone thought she was crazy, rambling nonsense. But before she passed, she gave me a folder. Inside it, I found proof that everything she said was true. I learned that my uncle's business rival was the Tate family. They had secretly bribed Emily's mother to tamper with his car. That's how they got rid of him. But by the time I discovered this, too many years had passed. All the evidence had been destroyed long ago. Using the documents my mother left behind, I started investigating. One of the files was a project proposal, an original bid my uncle had prepared. If he had submitted it, he would have won the contract, no question. But before he could, his accident happened. Later, I confirmed it again. The Tate family had orchestrated it. They had bribed Emily's mother to sabotage the car. Everything led back to them. So, I got close to Ethan Tate on purpose. I fell in love with him on purpose. I made him fall into gambling debt on purpose. Then, I drained every penny of his personal fortune, and even secretly transferred money from their company's accounts. When Emily set her sights on him too, I actually found it amusing. Someone so eager to clean up his mess. Perfect. I couldn't help but applaud. They deserved each other. They got married eventually. And not long after, Emily came crawling to me, crying. "Sis, what do I have to do for you to forgive me?" she sobbed. "Everywhere I go, people insult me. Please, could you ask Ryan to post something on Weibo? Just one message to explain everything. Tell his fans to stop attacking us. I know I was wrong, okay? I know I hurt you, but now both our family's companies have suffered huge losses because of this. The Tongs and the Parkers are still connected through business. Are you really going to just stand by and watch everything burn? What do you want me to do for you to forgive me?" Emily's trembling voice came through the phone, followed by sobs. Both she and Ethan took turns apologizing, but I knew neither of them was sincere. Just days before, they had tried to manipulate public opinion, stirring up hate online to get people to attack me. They had secretly taken photos of me and Ryan together and posted them online, claiming I was the one who had cheated first. But Ryan took advantage of the chaos, releasing our story to the public himself. How we'd been childhood friends who grew up together. A bond that had lasted since we were little. He even wrote everything like a diary from the first time we met until now. The internet went wild. Everyone was touched. After that, no one believed a word Emily said. Ryan even hired teams of online supporters to push back against them. His fans flooded social media, attacking the Tates and the Tongs relentlessly. "Tell your father to come see me if he wants to talk," I said coldly over the phone. "You two don't need to show your faces in front of me ever again." Then I hung up, picked up a slice of fruit Ryan had cut for me, and took a slow, satisfying bite. A few days later, my father came to see me. I slid a stack of papers across the table toward him. "What's this?" he asked, his brows furrowing. But as he read the first page, his eyes widened. "A termination agreement? Megan, you want to cut ties with us?" "Of course," I said calmly. "Once you sign this, I'll withdraw all the online teams I hired. They'll stop attacking the Tongs and the Tates." He slammed the papers down. "You want to cut ties with your family? What about your inheritance? What about your shares in the company? Are you insane, Megan? If I sign this, I'll never give you another chance to come back." I smiled faintly, my tone even. "That's exactly what I want, and I hope you won't regret it." Without hesitation, he grabbed a pen and scrolled his signature at the bottom. His hand trembled slightly, but his face showed no hesitation, only anger and exhaustion. When he was done, I immediately made a photocopy, gave him one copy, and kept the other. After he left, I stared at the document for a long time, lost in thought. Happy now? Ryan asked from behind me, his voice warm but teasing. You've been staring at that paper so long, you're about to burn a hole through it. You don't understand, I said softly. I've waited so long for this day to finally see them pay the price. How could I not be happy? And I was happy because Ethan had long since gambled away everything he owned. He was drowning in debt when he tried to rush the wedding. The only reason he wanted to marry me was for the Tong family's money. I'd been wondering how to get rid of him. But then Emily walked right into my trap. It didn't matter who he married in the end. If anything, marrying someone he actually liked worked out better. And since Emily had always been my father's favorite, I knew Ethan would choose her. They deserved each other. Later my phone buzzed again. Hello? A man's voice asked politely. When can we finalize the contract? After confirming the price, I packed up my documents and headed out. When I hung up, I couldn't help but smile. I arrived at Mr. TR's office, the CEO of a partner firm. Miss Tong, he greeted me, his expression full of curiosity. Why are you willing to sell me such a large amount of your shares with what you hold? You could easily oust Mr. Nicholas Tong from his position as CEO. Because I don't need it, I said simply. I'm done with it, and honestly I find it unlucky. You saw the news yesterday. My father rushed to publicly announce that he's cut all ties with me. So before I leave, I wanted to give him a little parting gift. Over the years I had started my own company, built it up, and quietly bought scattered shares of the Tong Corporation one by one. Once, when my father faced a financial crisis, he was forced to sell 10% of his shares without knowing I was the one who bought them. With those and the ones I'd been collecting, I now held 45% of the company, 5% more than him. If I wanted, I could easily replace him as CEO. But I didn't want to. In fact, I wanted to sell every single share I owned. I sold those shares to my father's biggest competitor just to make sure it hurt. He deserved to suffer a little before it was over. After finalizing the deal, I quickly moved out of my old apartment. If they ever found out where I lived, it would only cause unnecessary trouble. Ryan insisted that I move into his house instead. Buying a new place now would just be a hassle, he said. And honestly, he was right. It wasn't worth the effort, so I agreed. He didn't let me pay rent either. Every day, I'd sit in his living room scrolling through the news, watching story after story about the chaos between the Tong and Tate families. The more I read, the more I laughed. One afternoon, out of curiosity, I opened the security camera feed I had secretly installed at the old Tong house. I'd originally put it there just in case they tried to hurt my cat when I wasn't around. But that day, I caught something much more interesting. Something I definitely wasn't supposed to see. I knew it, I murmured to myself. How could she be so desperate? Without hesitation, I hit record and saved the footage. Moments later, my phone rang. It was my father, Nicholas Tong. I answered cheerfully. Hello, Dad. Megan, he roared. Did you sell our family shares to my competitors? How the hell did you even get that many shares? You did this on purpose, didn't you? You wanted to cut me off completely. I kept my tone calm, almost amused. I asked you several times, didn't I? You agreed willingly. Actions have consequences. When you brought that woman and her daughter into our home while Mom was sick. When you let them bully me. When you killed my kitten. Did you ever think I'd forgive you? Or that I wouldn't fight back? He went silent for a moment, breathing heavily. I could almost hear him grinding his teeth. You must have known this day would come, I continued. You just didn't care because you never thought I was capable of doing anything. I've hated you for years, and now finally I've made you pay. You deserve every bit of it, and no one is going to help you. I spoke calmly, firmly. After all, I had already dragged the entire family's dirty laundry into the public eye. No relative of ours would dare to step in and get involved. He didn't speak for a long while. When he finally did, his voice was trembling. You're really going to just stand by and watch the Tong family collapse? Half of what we built came from your mother and me. Can you really bear to see it fall apart? If Mom were here, I said coldly, she'd applaud me for what I've done. The money I'd used to start my business had come from her. She had quietly saved it for me because she never trusted them. Begging me won't help you, Dad. Maybe you should focus on dealing with your new son-in-law, the one who's been hounding you for money every day to pay off his gambling debts." There was a long pause, then a growl of realization. "You already knew Ethan Tate was a gambling addict. He owes a fortune, doesn't he? You planned all this. You set us up." I smiled faintly. "Smart guess." Then I hung up. Later that afternoon I took my cat, Snowball, for a walk around the neighborhood. Ryan was locked in his study, forced by his assistant to catch up on work. When I passed by his office I teased, "Want to come out and walk with me?" He glanced up briefly, his expression dark, clearly exhausted. I laughed and left him to it. As I strolled along the quiet path, a disheveled woman suddenly stumbled toward me. My body tensed the moment I recognized her, Emily. Her hair was a mess, her clothes torn, her face covered in bruises. I instinctively clutched Snowball tighter, stepping back in case she tried to touch my cat. "Please, Megan," she cried, falling to her knees. "Please help me. I don't want Ethan anymore. You can have him back. He doesn't love me. He never did. The one he loves most is you. Please tell him to leave me alone. I don't have any money left. You're rich. You be with him. Isn't that what you always wanted? Since we got married he's changed completely. He's addicted to gambling. He owes a fortune and keeps forcing me to pay. He hits me. He hits me so hard I lost the baby. Please, Megan, I'm begging you. Help me." When she reached for my hand I stepped aside. Her face was a mess of bruises, her body trembling, but I felt no pity. Everyone had to pay for their own choices. I gave a cold smile. Who said I ever liked Ethan? I only pretended to love him to fool all of you. Even he believed I was in love with him. Emily's expression froze. Then, as the truth sank in, her face twisted with rage and realization. She raised a trembling finger at me, her eyes blazing with hatred. You planned all of this. You planned all this. You even let Dad's company fall into someone else's hands. And now the money you made from selling those shares, Ethan took it all. How could you be so cruel? He's still your father. He's in the hospital right now in a coma." Emily screamed, her voice raw from crying. I looked at her calmly. "You must have forgotten. We severed all ties a long time ago. I don't have a father, remember? His real daughter should be the one taking care of him." She clenched her fists, trembling. "Please, Megan, I was wrong. I'm begging you. I know you have money. Help me, please. Grandpa doesn't care about us, and Mom only looks after my little brother. Ethan said if I don't give him money, he'll sell me to those kinds of places." "That's your problem, not mine," I said coldly. Then I turned to the guards. "Get her out of here." The guards quickly escorted her away. Watching her stumble out, disheveled and broken, I felt nothing. By now, she looked no different from a madwoman. When she was finally gone, I returned to Ryan's house, my mood calm and detached. No matter how much they tore each other apart, it had nothing to do with me. But when I later heard that my father, Nicholas Tong, had collapsed, I decided it was time to give him one last gift. I downloaded a video onto my phone, humming softly as I got ready to leave. "Where are you going?" Ryan suddenly appeared in the doorway of his study, still holding a stack of papers. I smiled faintly and waved. "I'm going to see if my father's dead yet. Don't bother saving me lunch." His expression froze somewhere between disbelief and speechlessness as I walked out the door. At the hospital, I looked down at the man lying in the bed. He looked 10 years older than he had just a few weeks ago. Hair completely white, skin gray and sunken. When he weakly opened his eyes and saw me, I pulled a chair closer and sat down beside him. "You came," he rasped. I ignored him, my voice flat and cold. "You used to whisper sweet words to my mother. And then the moment she got sick, you turned around and pampered your mistress and her daughter instead. Must have felt great, huh? Her daughter was born just a few days after me. You really have no shame, do you? What is this? The ancient era? Still playing the noble wife and concubine game." He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak. "You always wanted a son. Someone to inherit your pathetic little empire. And now you've got one. Are you happy? The same son who killed my kitten. The one I loved most in the world. The same son who beat me while you stood by laughing, proud of him for being a man. Tell me, has your precious son come to visit you lately? I started laughing then, loudly, uncontrollably, tears stinging my eyes. You know what, Dad? Since you're about to die, I brought you a gift. Don't worry, I won't let people say you died of anger because of me. I unlocked my phone, pulled up a video and held the screen right in front of his face. On the screen was the living room of the Tong family home. His mistress, Vivian Wu, was pacing back and forth, her face contorted in panic as she yelled into her phone. Ethan, you said part of the Tate family fortune would belong to my son. But now the Tom's money, where is it? It's all gone. Everything. Ethan lost it all gambling. I don't believe you. I'm coming back tomorrow and I'm not leaving without the money. If you don't give it to me, I'll tell Megan what you did to me. You think you erased all the evidence? Kept it. I still have everything. When I first discovered that video, I'd been shocked. More shocked than when I learned that Lucas wasn't really my father's son. But after the surprise came satisfaction. Vivian had gone to the Tate mansion several times to cause trouble, but I knew she wouldn't dare carry the evidence with her. I was waiting for the day she'd come crawling to me, desperate, with proof in hand. I turned off the phone and stood up, heading for the door. Behind me, the heart monitor started beeping wildly. Nurses and doctors rushed into the room, shouting orders. By the time I reached the parking lot, a cloth covered my nose and mouth from behind. The world tilted. Everything went black. The last thought that crossed my mind before losing consciousness was almost ironic. I had expected Vivian Wu to come looking for me, but not like this. When I opened my eyes and saw Lucas standing over me, I realized it all made perfect sense. He was capable of something like this. Of course he was. The moment Lucas saw me regain consciousness, his face twisted with fury. He kicked me hard in the stomach and shouted through gritted teeth. Megan, you ruined my entire family. You turned me from a rich, respected heir into a broke nobody. You should just die. Then he started hitting me again. Fists and kicks raining down without mercy. My wrists and ankles were tied, but even then, all he could do was lash out like the rabid dog he'd always been. What's wrong, huh? He sneered. Why aren't you saying anything? Weren't you the almighty Megan Tong who destroyed my family? Why so quiet now? He crouched down, yanked my hair, forcing my head back painfully. I know you've got money, lots of it. You're still my sister, at least on paper. No matter who my dad really is, I'm still a Tong and you owe me. Give me 100 million yuan. And once I disappear, I won't care what you do to my sister or my family. How about it, Megan? Listening to him, I felt nothing but disgust. I had known since the day he was born that Lucas Tong was rotten to the core. He'd always been violent, always cruel, beating me, fighting at school, causing chaos wherever he went. And every time my father cleaned up his mess and spoiled him even more. Lucas, stop hitting her. Vivian Wu's trembling voice came from the corner. We came here for money, not trouble. If you hurt her anymore, no one will be able to help you. He turned on her instantly, shoving her away with such force that she fell to the ground and couldn't get back up. Pathetic, I thought. Still as useless as ever. So what now, sister? He taunted, pacing closer. Hurry up and give me the money. I watched him pull out a handful of syringes from somewhere dirty. Used? Who knew from where? One by one he stabbed them into my arm. I clenched my jaw, biting back the pain. Blood trickled down my skin, but my mind was cold and steady. Almost enough. You want money? I said softly, looking up at him with a faint, eerie smile. I'll give it to you. I don't know when the ropes had loosened, but suddenly they were gone. I kicked him square in the face, sending him sprawling backward. Before he could recover, I grabbed his head with both hands and slammed it into the floor again and again. Blood splattered across the tiles. Only when he stopped moving did I lean close and whisper, if I give you money, it's only fair to make sure you won't live long enough to spend it. I stood over him, my expression twisting into a grin that felt almost feral. Did you forget? You once beat me like a dog until I couldn't even beg for mercy. How does it feel now? Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out the remaining syringes and jabbed them into his thigh and hip, one after another until he howled. Then outside, the sound of police sirens filled the air. Told you, I murmured coldly into his ear. I said I'd put you behind bars. I straightened up, looked around, then walked back to where I'd been tied earlier. Satisfied that things looked chaotic enough, I lay down again and let the darkness take me. When I woke up, the police were there questioning us both. As for his injuries, I told them the truth. Well, a version of it. I kicked him a few times to defend myself, I said calmly. The rest, he fell and hit his head. The officer raised an eyebrow, holding up the syringes. And these, he fell on them too? Yes, I said evenly. He's not very stable physically or mentally. Hasn't been since he was a kid. While I was there, I also reported Vivian Wu and the entire Tate family, accusing them of attempted murder. After all, Vivian still had evidence hidden somewhere. And it was only a matter of time before the police found it. When I finally stepped out of the police station, Ryan was leaning casually against his car, smiling at me. Done telling them all your wild stories? I glared at him. Wild stories? I was giving my statement. He laughed, dodging as I kicked his shin. Oh, okay. Okay. You're terrifying when you're serious. How did you actually kick me for real? Ryan winced dramatically, rubbing his leg. Do you not know that my delicate skin bruises easily? I rolled my eyes and smirked. Then please, Your Highness with the fragile skin, hurry up and open the car door. We got in, and as we were driving, he suddenly asked, Do you want to go abroad with me now? Sure, I said lightly. Just give me a little time to sort out my company first. When I said it, I couldn't help but smile. The weather outside the window was bright and clear, the kind of day that made the sky look endless. It felt like the world had finally turned right side up again. Later, I heard that Emily couldn't take it anymore. One night, while Ethan was asleep, she stabbed him to death, then killed herself. Mr. Tate went to prison, and Mrs. Tate fled abroad with what was left of their money. As it turned out, Ethan's father, Nathan Tate, had once been Vivian Wu's first love. The two of them rekindled their affair years ago after conspiring together in the incident that killed my uncle. Their son Lucas was the result of that filthy relationship. Not long after that, before I left the country, my grandfather asked to see me. I went. He'd had a stroke, half his body paralyzed, but somehow he was still alive, tougher than either my father or anyone else in the family. He left me his company and all his remaining assets. When Vivian got into trouble, he had personally kicked her and her children out, afraid they'd bring more ruin to his doorstep. He didn't even think of giving them a penny. Cruel as he was, my grandfather made my father look gentle by comparison. After inheriting everything, I signed the papers and donated it all away. I had told him once before that he'd die with no descendants to care for him, no one left to offer incense or a kind word. And I meant it. I arranged for him to be sent to a nursing home, and then left the country. I never went back. Years later on the plane, Ryan leaned back in his seat and said with a teasing grin, You know, Megan, I always thought that so-called perfect campus god Ethan Tate was just an act. Turns out I was right. I laughed quietly. You were 16 when you left the country. You never even met him. How could you possibly know that? He shrugged. I came back once for a short exchange program. Spent a month at your university. You didn't even notice. What? Why didn't you come see me? I asked, genuinely surprised. He turned to look at me, his eyes amused. Because back then you only had eyes for Ethan Tate. Everyone else might not have known how much you liked him, but I did. I let out a short, sarcastic laugh. Liked him? That look in my eyes wasn't affection. It was calculation. Every habit, every preference I learned about him was just to make my plan go smoother. You seriously thought I had a crush on that man? Ryan turned his head away, pretending to focus on his book, but the corners of his mouth lifted into a smile he couldn't quite hide. Have you ever stayed in a relationship that felt like a mix of light and darkness?